Hello! I'm back at the old setup, which means uploads will be consistent again, and I decided to kick things off showing you guys my fantasy Premier League team this season. Before we get into it, make sure you join my fantasy league. I'll leave a link in the description and the code right here. And I know a lot of you have been asking me to rank every World Cup country's manager. That will be coming out next. Stay tuned for that this weekend. But yeah, going into the fantasy team, which is definitely subject to change. There's obviously loads of players I want to choose, but I can't because we have a price limit. So if I don't take any obvious picks to you, that's why. But still, let me know if you have any pointers. But let's get into it, starting off with the goalkeeper. My main pick is going to have to be Alisson. As you can see on the side, he got the most points last season. This guy's bound to get a decent amount of clean sheets as Liverpool have a very solid back line, as long as there's not some massive injuries throughout the season there. We'll see if he ends up getting first in terms of points, but I think he's probably the best choice to take. I see a lot of people are choosing Henderson as well. I think both are a great shout, but I'm going to pick Alisson. The next goalkeeper I'm going for is Henderson from Nottingham Forest. Don't forget about this guy's loan spell at Sheffield United. He was immense. Got put on the bench once he came back to United, but I'm very glad to see he's back representing a club where, as long as he stays in form, he will most likely be the guaranteed starter. Obviously, they also got the Welsh option, Hennessy, who's very solid himself. We'll see the dynamics of who ends up starting, but I think it's going to be Henderson. That could age badly, but I'm going to take him for now. There's obviously some potential better keepers I could have chosen, but for that price tag of 4.5, and for what he's done in the past, I think this is a solid choice for sure. Now moving on to the defense, it's obviously smart to choose some fullbacks here, and obviously first comes to mind for players like that are Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, as they even admitted they compete who can rack up the most assists. Trent Alexander-Arnold, as you can see, got 208 points last season, but he also has the heftiest price tag, which is why I'm reluctant to choose him, and I'm going to have to go for an option on Manchester City, who's also very expensive, but he's proved his worth. Only 0.5 less for price, but I think it's worth saving a little bit. Also racked up a lot of points last season, just 7 shy from Trent. I'm going with Joao Cancelo. Last season in the Premier League, he was able to rack up 7 assists, but obviously there's more factors to that in terms of points. Clean sheets are also massive. Not discrediting Trent in any ways, but I think Joao Cancelo will be a reliable defender for the Fantasy Premier League this year. Next up, I'm gonna have to take Rhys James. This lad could have potentially got even more points last season if he weren't injured for some of it. He still got an impressive amount, 141. He got 5 goals and 9 assists last season in the Premier League, and it's crazy how so far every season he's only looking better and better. Still somewhat pricey, not as expensive as Joao Cancelo and Trent Alexander-Arnold though, obviously. As long as he's able to stay fit, I think he will be a great contributor for points on this team. Next up, I have gone for Tottenham's new signing, Ivan Perisic. Obviously, one of my favorite signings this transfer window so far. In my opinion, this guy is one of the most underrated football players. He was immense at Inter Milan pretty much his entire career there. And we can't forget about how he ended his season at Inter Milan, clutching the Coppa Italia for them in extra time. He's listed as a defender here. I'm not sure how he's gonna fit into Conte's system. Maybe he'll play as a wingback or just stick to his normal left mid position. But regardless, if we're able to select him as a defender, I think it's an obvious choice, to be honest. Decent price as well. 5.5. I'll take it. I'm definitely backing Perisic this season. My next defender is going to be a new signing from Nottingham Forest, Neco Williams, the young Welsh prodigy. Premier League pace might be a lot for him, but most likely will be starting. He was great at Fulham to secure them the promotion. Now he's joined another Premier League club. To be fair, he was on loan for Fulham. Now Liverpool got rid of him. He's going to have to prove himself this season. It's a mixed bag of what fans think will happen for Nottingham Forest this season. Straight relegation, or they'll be very impressive out of the bunch that have just been promoted. And I think this lad can prove himself. He obviously pushes up quite a bit. Solid fullback. A pretty confident player, at least in the Championship. We'll see how he can handle the Premier League this time around. With all that being said, the main reason why I'm choosing him is because he's probably the best option for this price. 4.0 is an absolute bargain who can definitely shine if Nottingham Forest do well. We'll see what happens, obviously. But regardless, best, cheapest defender you can find. Do you know what? It might annoy some of you, but I'm going to leave that last midfielder position empty for now because I'm still not sure if I want to select who I have in mind in terms of the prices. I'm going to move on to the midfielders just in case I have a little bit more cash to splash if I end up changing my mind about this lineup. But yeah, moving on to my most expensive player on this team, spoiler alert, I am choosing Heung-min Son. The lad who caught up to Mohamed Salah at the end to win the Premier League Golden Boot. He really started to gain momentum, and I definitely think he'll be motivated and deadly this year. I have high hopes for Tottenham. In case you missed my Premier League predictions, I'm thinking they could clutch that top 4, maybe even get 3rd. Obviously would choose Salah, but he is ridiculously expensive. If y'all want to choose him, fair play. But I'm choosing the Korean beast. Moving on to the next midfielder, I am going for Luis Diaz. We've already seen how great of a January transfer this was. Although Sadio Mane has left the squad, I think Liverpool are still in safe hands for the attack. This Colombia is still leaving many Liverpool fans hopeful. We can't forget about the first half of his season in Portugal. While he was at Porto, he was able to score 14 goals and 5 assists in 18 appearances. Obviously, those numbers didn't translate as highly once he joined the Premier League, but he's definitely learning to adapt to this system. He'll potentially be starting more as well now that Sadio Mane is gone. I have faith in the lad. Come on, Luis Diaz. Now, my next pick I'm choosing is Bukay Osaka from Arsenal. He's still just 20 years old as well. What a baller, and I'm predicting him to have a very solid partnership with the newly signed Jesus up top. He contributed directly for a decent amount of goals last season, 18 to be exact in the Premier League. I won't be surprised if it's more this time around. Now my next choice is a player that costs 7, and I was torn between 2 picks. It's either going to be Coutinho or Wilfried Zaha. I definitely think Coutinho will have some brilliant moments throughout the season, but possibly not as consistent as this lad, at least in terms of scoring goals. 7 million is somewhat of a bargain for a player who was able to get 150 last time. Zaha is one of Crystal Palace's more reliable options as well, so I'm gonna have to take him. For my final midfielder, I've gone for a much cheaper option, but a familiar one for many. Chosen Declan Rice. I'm already envisioning the comments. You clearly don't know anything about fantasy football. How dare you choose a center defensive mid? It's really not that deep. Like I said, there's a price limit, and he was still able to get 95 points last season. He'll be a consistent starter as well. Now for the attack. I'll start off with my cheapest option this time around. I've gone for Alexander Mitrovic. We can't forget about what this guy's done last season in the championship. He broke the record just halfway through the season with the most goals scored in the league. Will he be able to translate those numbers to the Premier League? I still have faith in him to score a decent amount of goals here and there. Will Fulham get relegated? Many think so, but I still see this guy upsetting a few teams here and there. I believe in Alexander Mitrovic. Now, my next pick is going to have to be the newly signed Liverpool striker, Darwin Núñez. A decent amount of people are expecting him to somewhat flop in the Premier League. While it's definitely possible, we can't forget about what he's done in Portugal. 26 goals and 4 assists in 28 appearances in the Portuguese league. I don't know, the preseason friendlies for him have been all over the place. Misses open goals easily, then scores 4 out of nowhere against RB Leipzig. We'll see what happens in the Premier League. Could be a massive miss of a pick, but I'm going to have faith in him for now. Might change my mind on that, though. And the last forward I'm picking is the newly signed Arsenal striker, Jesus. Only costing 8. We've already seen his impact at Manchester City. He's already familiar with the Premier League, and he's going to have all the motivation in the world because Arsenal are going to have to heavily rely on him. This could really be a break from him. At Manchester City, he was just another player. Now he is the answer for the attack. He already had a terrific preseason friendly run. I know a lot of you don't think it's smart to weigh in those matches, but Arsenal to me are looking really promising this year, and I think it's a great pickup from them. I have faith in him to definitely rack up a decent amount of goals. I definitely think he'll be a very confident player this season. Why not? And going back to that last defender who I was hesitant to choose, but we only have 4 in the bank, it's going to have to be Vestergaard from Leicester City. I'm not even too sure what the plans are for him in the squad, but he's cheap. I probably won't be starting him, to be honest. I'm just calling that my budget move. So yeah, here is my final team. Let me know your thoughts to it in the comments below. Feel free to share your team as well if you wish. And don't forget to join the Fantasy League. Link in the description. Here's the code. Don't forget to smash that like button, guys. If this video does well, I will be doing other fantasy teams for the Champions League and definitely the World Cup as well. Can't wait for that all to be released, obviously. Wish I could do a mock one for the World Cup, but I don't know all the prices and all that. Please subscribe if you haven't already to stay tuned for the rest. I will see you all very, very soon. Take care. La con noche.